to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV. You're here with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast in Australia. We're absolutely experiencing the most gorgeous spring weather. For those of you that are entering into your cooler months of the year, I know you might be a little bit envious, but we're just having such a wonderful spring weather with a few thunderstorms thrown in for good measure. So today the sun is shining and it's been an absolutely perfect day here. So I hope it's a beautiful day wherever you are in this globe of ours. And we seem to open the show every week with our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers going out to someone in the world that's having a major weather event. And this week it's Japan's turn. We do really send all our prayers and our good wishes, and hopefully no more losses of life there with the hurricane that came through there this week. I'm not sure that that's the right word that they use, but anyway, we'll use the word hurricane that came through there. And it's been a terrible thing for them to have all this weather happening and losing lives and uncertainty. And I think it really disrupts normal everyday life when you have a weather event like that. It takes a long, long time for people to get over not only the physical shock, but I think the emotional shock of why is this happening? How can this happen to me? And how do I rebuild and reboot my life again? And it's a really hard thing to do after you've been through such a tragedy. And I know every week we seem to be sort of talking about a different tragedy or a different weather event around the world. So hopefully next week we won't have such news to share with everyone. So we'll get on with the show today. We're going to open the show as we always do with the Simply Tarot card of the week. And I was really excited today when I drew this card because I thought maybe this is a sign of things to come. We've got the Three of Cups. Now the Three of Cups is celebration and bright happenings. So I'm really going to get behind the positive message of this and say maybe the whole world has got something to celebrate in the next 7 days. We can always keep our fingers crossed that finally we do have something to celebrate. And our lives are going to start to have some sparkle in them again, and we will be feeling happy and joyous on the inside. So we'll move on to the next part of the show. For those of you that have been tuning in regularly, you'll know each week I feature a little mini astrology lesson. Well, today I'm sort of sad and excited to say we're finishing our 4-part series on Saturn, the planet of the taskmaster, the one that comes along with the big stick and says, now you're going to be good girls and boys and we're going to learn all these lessons and we're going to do it my way. Even though you have an opinion, I'm always right. So it's interesting when we learn to work and harness the energy of Saturn that we can have great stickability or great determination, or we can move mountains with our lives. We can really remove obstacles that have been bogging us down. And as I've said before many times, Saturn's a planet that I really personally had to learn to work with because he sits 2 degrees before my sun. And it wasn't until I took up astrology many, many moons ago now that I understood why I had to work doubly hard or triply hard as someone else to get the same results. But once I learnt that and understood it and started to work with the energy of Saturn, the lessons or the task at hand wasn't quite as severe or quite as heavy going because I understood that I needed to focus more. I needed to be more disciplined. And once I worked with that, Saturn sort of took the reins off a little bit and allowed me a bit more breathing space. So maybe that's something that you can learn to work with if things aren't quite going your way in your life. Maybe sort of just try and become a little bit more focused, a little bit more aware of what you're trying to achieve, and is it for the right reasons, and is it going to bring changes in your life that will not just benefit you but others around you. So the final 3 parts of the Saturn series we're going to be working with today is Capricorn, Aquarius and Pisces. Now Saturn actually rules Capricorn. So it's no surprise here that when you put Saturn and Capricorn together, this is where we get the big major decisions around the world, big business, big governments, major life-changing events, major life-changing decisions that are handled by many people, not just one person, is how Saturn and Capricorn go hand in hand. And how that works in a personal chart for somebody that has Saturn in Capricorn in their own chart, you'll usually find these people feel much more comfortable working in very, very big organisations or work for the government or work for big international wide-spreading companies. They have a very acute business mind and are usually very able to go in and run a business single-handedly if they choose to do so. But not many people I've come across in my 30-odd years in astrology usually tend to venture out to becoming self-employed unless it's on a grand scale. You don't see that many people with Saturn in Capricorn going into a small self-contained family business, it's usually on a much grander scale because they need the volume of people to work with and to organise and to direct. That's their main role. They don't, they get a bit bored with just directing themselves or to other people. They like things on a big numbers scale, a big volume scale. So it doesn't mean that they can't go into a nice little self-employed or family business. It just means it's usually unlikely. So if you've got Saturn in Capricorn, lucky you, that means that, you've always had a good eye on business and antiques and where your money's going and things like that. Might be considered a bit boring by some people, but you feel comfortable with it, and that's all that matters. So we're now moving on to Saturn in Aquarius. Now, I've always thought this was a very strange combination. Yet I can honestly say I've seen it work very well, even though it's like two completely different opposites in some ways, where Saturn wants to be the boss, but so does Aquarius, and they're both quite fixed and quite rigid in the way that they look at things, but they both have a completely different opinion of how they will look at it. So it's sort of like Aquarian energy is always looking for the new, the innovative, the different, the way to sort of shock, surprise, to bring different thinking into our lives, to sort of approach it from a completely different angle, a way that other people have never thought of. And Saturn's very much more on the conservative level, where he likes things done the way that it's always worked, because it's been proven over and over again that that's the way that works, and that's the way we'll continue, and we'll continue on that path because it's been proven to work. So it's interesting how that Saturn sometimes can sort of be seen to be peering over the fence at what Aquarius is doing and saying, oh, that's not such a bad idea. I might adopt that and modify it and bring it into what's always worked. But, gee, we won't let Aquarius know we're doing that. I'll let them think that we came up with this idea ourselves. And Aquarius has a little chuckle to itself and says, well, Saturn thinks it's outsmarted me because he didn't realise that I saw him peering over the fence and, modified my idea and took it back in his own. Well, that's okay. What I'll do now is I'll take some of his determination and some of the things that have worked well for him in the past, and I'll incorporate them into my new way of thinking. So they're sort of thinking they're outsmarting each other, but they're actually working together quite harmoniously. So it's an interesting take on how Saturn works with Aquarius. So we now come to our final sign, which is Saturn in Pisces. And when I say the final sign, Pisces is always treated as like the dustbin or the final sign. It's not as important as the other 11 signs of the zodiac. And I'm here to say nothing could be further from the truth. And I've always believed, and I don't know whether a lot of other astrologers believe with me or hone in on the principle that I like to work with, but to me, the Pisces energy is incredibly creative, is incredibly flexible, but more important than that, it's a blend of the previous 11 cycles of signs, so it has the best of everything and probably the worst of everything too that's previously gone before it, and it can sort of sit there and say, yeah, I like this, I don't like that, I might keep this, I might let go of that, but all the time trying to apply it in a very flexible, pleasant, happy, sort of creative sort of way. So it's interesting here because Saturn sort of seems to soften here with Pisces. It's almost like comes into the Pisces energy and he sort of exhales and says, oh, good, I'm home now. I can relax a little bit, even though it's not traditionally the planet that has ruled Pisces at any stage that I've been able to find. But for some reason or another, Saturn just seems to feel reasonably comfortable here and gives Pisces a little bit more of a free pass than it does any other sign. So I suppose that's good because it means that if by Saturn easing up a little bit on Pisces, we get the best out of Pisces in a creative, positive sort of way, and we get some sort of order and some structure to their very creative, cluttered mind, well, then that's a good thing. So maybe that's why Saturn does it, because Saturn sees if I come in and wield the big stick here, nothing will get done. But if I come in on a way where I'm gentle and approaching it in a gentle way, that maybe I'll get better productivity, I'll get more things done, and I'll achieve what I hope to achieve here while working with Pisces. So next week I'm excited to say that we're going to move on to one of the most misunderstood planets in our solar system, and that's Uranus. Some people pronounce it as Uranus. I've always pronounced it as Uranus. I don't know whether one's right or wrong. I think it's a personal preference. It's a little bit like tomato or tomato. I like to call it Uranus. And we'll be sharing what Uranus has got in store for those people that have Uranus in Aries, Taurus and Gemini. So as we have a little glimpse around the zodiac this week, it was really interesting for me to have a look as I was looking to the heavens today before the show that what's actually happening. I mean, every week I say there's always something exciting and different and interesting going on. There always is in the wonderful world of astrology. But this week I'd like to focus just on two areas. One is the sun. Now, the sun has just moved into Scorpio, so it's that Scorpio time of the year where we're sort of heading towards the holiday season and things like that. And a lot of people start to find that their emotions start to become a little bit more stuck. It's like, I want to slow things down. I want to concentrate on things. I want to delve into myself. I want to spend a little bit time by myself. Some people say it's before the Christmas rush and the silly season and the holiday period that I'm just catching my breath, and that may very well be true. But for the moment, the sun is holding hands, or conjunct, as it's known in astrology terms, with the planet Jupiter. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion, opportunity and luck. So I feel it's a really good time that if you're looking to start something new, now is the perfect time, because the sun is sort of radiating this beautiful, intense, watery, creative sort of energy, and sort of saying, you know, yes, you can have a little bit of a chill out zone if you want, but while you're chilling out and you're allowing your mind to wander, just be mindful of that Jupiter's there helping you expand, create opportunities, have some light bulb moments, getting ready. You might not be ready to implement them yet, but he's sort of saying, well, okay, this can be a very creative period of the next few days. Make sure you have your pad and pen next to you, or a way of recording it on your device, that you can keep these light bulb moments for a future reference. The other area of astrology I'd like to look at this week is the moon, and I know we quite often talk about the moon, but the moon this week is holding hands with Saturn, which I thought was quite apt because we've just been working through Saturn in the last 4 shows. And this week is holding hands with Saturn in the planet of Sagittarius. Now, this is interesting because Saturn, you know, likes to be in Sag. He sort of thinks he's the boss there. But Saturn doesn't necessarily feel comfortable with emotional issues. So I feel here it's really interesting because even though the moon and Saturn are holding hands, they're sort of holding hands in a very sort of loose sort of motion, and sort of saying, well, okay, let's just chill out. Let's just let our emotions float and see where they go, which is almost allowing to add to that creative area that we were just previously talking about with the Sun and Jupiter. So it's really sort of bringing everything into a very higher mind, but at the same time an internal situation where the creativity is flowing from the internal plus the mind. So it's emotions and mind that's sort of flowing and wafting around in our thought bubbles and our things that are happening at the moment. So it's a really good time. If you're caught daydreaming, just say, look, I'm just having an astrology moment. You don't need to clarify any more than that. So that takes us on to our soy candle of the week, of one of my range of the 27 or 28 or something we have in the range. And this week I've chosen the water sign candle because we've just gone into the Scorpio energy. So for anybody that is a water sign, and that is Cancer, Scorpio or Pisces, this is the ideal candle to burn for about an hour a day, setting your intentions of what you'd like to bring into your life or what you might like to release from your life, or just purely the indulgence of enhancing your own psychic ability. So our candles are all natural eco soy friendly, natural eco soy candles with lead-free wicks, so they are for the modern times, in a very positive, dynamic sort of way that we can use these sort of candles to be able to help us bring about the changes in our lives that we would like to see coming into our lives, and particularly if you are a water sign. Now, just before we take our first caller, I'm going to say to you that the candles are on my website. You can find them on my Facebook page. We have, as I said, a range of candles for just about every occasion. Each week I'll feature a different one and to share with you a little bit of insight about that. So we're going to take our first caller, which is Nancy in Thompson, Connecticut. Are you there, Nancy?
Yes, I am.
How can I help you, sweetie? You have a
I'm
question?
Good. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. Do you have a question I can work with?
I was just wondering if you could tell me what's in store for my future, in my near future.
Okay. I can do that, Nancy, but I'd like a sort of, if possible, a little bit more of a direction, like we're focusing on work,
romance.
Or we focus on romance?
Yeah, the romance department.
Okay, great. We can do that for you. The first thing that they're showing me, Nancy, is that 2017 has been a year of clearing out, sorting out and releasing. So obviously I'm taking from that you've released a lot of old emotions that were sitting around you that were connected to previous relationships. And I'm pleased to say you get a gold star now. You've released that and you've dealt with all that sort of stuff. I would like to say that there's a number of possibilities coming up around you, but what I'm liking to look for is the one that's going to be special, not the 13 toads we kiss along the way before we get to the prince. So what I'm going to say to you is I'm not seeing anyone significant coming into your life until the new year. And I'm saying not too far into the new year. I'm not saying, you know, like the new year starts in January, and I'm not talking about next August. I'm talking about possibly January, February. There's a man coming into your life that I feel will be significant and special. Now, it doesn't mean between now and then that you won't go on a date. It just means it's not the one. So the man that I've got coming in is very tall. He has brown hair. He has glasses. I feel that he's a little bit what I'd call on the shy side, even though he's not 20. And he's had relationships. I mean, we all do when we get to a certain age. We've had a past. He still seems to be what I'd term a little bit on the shy side when it comes to sort of getting back out there, dating again, and probably a little bit overwhelmed with the way dating has changed over the years, where everybody seems to go to electronic dating sites now rather than meeting the old-fashioned way. And I feel that when the two of you do meet, I think it is going to be in an old-fashioned way. I don't think it's going to be through a dating site. I think it's actually going to be through some friends. But it's like you're going to something that you're going to an event that's a daytime event, and it's something that you normally wouldn't go to. If you said to me, look, I've never been to an art exhibition in my lifetime and I'm not likely to go, I'm not interested, I'd say to you, go, because it's going to be one of those sort of abstract things that's not on the usual social calendar. This is where you're going to meet him. You're going to meet him at a daytime event. He doesn't normally go to them either, so I'm looking at this as being fate bringing the two of you together. I think you'll meet, you'll have a few conversations, you'll exchange telephone numbers, and that'll be the beginning of the relationship. I really like him. He's a nice man. I feel he has, a good paying job. He's, got a steady income, all those sort of things. So where you are in Connecticut, is that sort of considered sort of like a semi-rural area, semi-country area?
Yes, it's a rural area, yes.
Okay, because I could see wide open spaces around the two of you, and I didn't feel that he lived that far from where you were, like it was a manageable drive to go dating, like it wasn't more than sort of like 15, 20 minutes away from each other, but I could see all this wide open spaces around him.
Okay.
And I feel that at some stage or another in his life, I've been a teacher or a trainer of some kind, but I don't feel that's the profession he's in at the moment. I think in the last 2 years he's gone a completely different direction and gone into a new business, which has been sort of like his whole life, because I feel if we go back 4 years ago in his life, I think he completely changed the course and direction of his life from that point. And, I'm talking about a marriage or a serious relationship ended. He sold the house. He moved across the country. He sort of got out of the profession he'd always been in, gone into a new business and sort of really completely revamped himself. And he says now he's happy with who he is. And I think that's a good thing, because you've done pretty much the same thing, maybe not in the same time frame, but you've also had, the new upgraded version of Nancy, the person that you're now more comfortable with. So it's interesting that you're both coming together on that same energy, and it's like there's lots of laughter, there's lots of fun. But I think above anything, I think is you both feel so comfortable with each other, and I think that's the most important thing. We need to be comfortable with the person we're going to spend the rest of our lives with. They should be our best friend, first and foremost. They should be the one person that we can be ourselves with, and that's what I feel the most here with you two. And it's really good because there's just so much love between the two of you, and it's such an amazing connection. And I feel this man is going to open you up to so many new areas of life that you hadn't even considered. So did you used to go dancing a lot when you were, in your teenage years?
No, not really. I was kind of, to myself, very quiet.
No, so you're both very quiet. Well, it's interesting because I can see the two of you taking up some form of dancing. And I don't mean hip-hop. I mean, proper dancing. And sort of enjoying that as one of the many activities you'll do together. But, to look at the two of you together, you wouldn't know either one of you were shy or have been shy. You know, you two are sort of just chattering away all the time together, and I think you're really good for each other. But I also know that 2018 is going to see other changes for you too, Nancy. Was there a thought in your mind about the possibility of maybe changing your job or making changes to the job?
Okay.
I don't think that's going to come in before about March or April, and I just want to leave that there as a question mark. It doesn't have to be a definite. It may just be you get to that point of time and think, oh, I'm really bored with this. What else can I do? Do you know what I mean? And if that's the case, then explore it then. But I wouldn't get worried or anticipate it. I'd just go with the flow. I think you've really done a good job on all that you've been working on yourself. You need about 5 packets of gold stars because you've really passed every test and released everything and done everything, and you're ready for this new life.
Well, that's good. That's good because I've tried.
Yes, you did. Well, have a wonderful night, and thanks for calling into the show, Nancy.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, we're going to go to Janice in Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. Are you there, Janice?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Very well, sweetie. Do you have a question for me that I can answer?
Yes, it's about my love life. I was just wondering, you know, if my husband, he died 4 years ago. We were together like 44 years, and I was wondering, am I ever going to get on with my life, or am I going to be alone the rest of my life, or
Okay. All right, Janice. First and foremost, I want to say to you, I'm sorry that you did lose your husband. It's a very exclusive club that we don't want any extra members to. But having said that, I feel now you're ready. I feel you're ready to sort of open up to these. There was a time not long after your husband passed away, and I mean even probably up to close to the 3-year mark, you didn't know whether that day would ever come again, whether you would ever feel ready to sort of welcome someone else into your life. So I'm pleased to say now that I feel you are ready. Please don't feel that you're doing the wrong thing by being ready to do this. Your late husband would want you to move on and to see, that beautiful smile on your face again and sparkle in your eyes again. You'll never stop loving him, and he'll never stop loving you, and he'll never stop being with you. But you're still here, and, you're on the earth plane, and the earth plane is to get on with our lives. It's not about, living the rest of our lives in the past. There's always, nobody's ever going to take that place of your late husband, but we have the capability of loving again. Now, having said that, I do feel that there's going to be a choice of 2. You've got 2 men coming towards you. One, I think, is somebody that you already know. And I'm getting a man with dark hair. Well, would have been black hair probably when he was younger. And I feel the 2 of them meet up again fairly soon. It's around this holiday season, and, you're sort of having a bit of a chat about this and that and the other, and you find out his wife's passed away, and, we go out for coffee or lunch or both, and, it's sort of a nice, comfortable situation. I just want you to be careful with that, though. It's not that there's anything wrong with him, Janice. It's just that I don't want you to fall into it because you feel sorry for him and you understand what he's going through because you've been through the same thing, that this is maybe what's meant to be, and, just fall into something that way. I mean, terrific if the spark's there and the chemistry's there and the bells and whistles are going off, terrific. But I just feel it's quite that way. It's sort of like 2 people that have been through a similar thing, and it's like we've got a lot in common. It's like, oh, well, this is maybe what's meant to be. I think it's nice.
Possible that I'm seeing him now?
It could be. Does that fit with something with a person that's in your life now? Yeah, I just don't
exactly.
I just don't feel that's the magic, though, Janice.
No, it isn't. It isn't.
Okay, well, if he's already in your life, I'm going to say there's a new one coming.
Okay.
I don't feel it's before the end of the year. I'm sort of looking towards March, April next year, where you're going to meet somebody in a very random situation, like standing in the queue at the bank or something like that. It's somewhere that you're not, you don't go out looking for a new potential partner as you're doing the banking, but it'll be something like that. You're in a queue, you get talking, and he sort of says, well, how about a cup of coffee? And you think, yeah, why not? We've been standing here for an hour, and that's sort of, it's an instant thing. And that just starts a really nice friendship. But I feel from that there is the bells and whistles. There's the bolt of lightning, I can't get him out of my head sort of situation. I really like him. He's a very tall man, brown hair, a little bit younger than you, Janice. Not that that makes any difference. It's only numbers on a piece of paper. But I feel
Okay.
he makes you alive. He makes you feel like you're 18 again. You know, you're sort of excited. You feel as if this is very different to what you've got now. So the situation
Okay.
that you've got now, I think you both sort of know that you just sort of fell into this situation because it was comfortable
Right.
and familiar in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, it was probably sent to both of you to help you complete your healing and to be able
Yes,
to sort
exactly, I think what it is.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you've both helped each other through a tremendous time in that hasn't lost a partner through death, doesn't understand what it's like. It's very different from divorce. And
Right.
people say, oh, but it can't be. No, it is. It's much more painful because they're not coming back. You didn't hate them. You didn't dislike them.
Right.
You loved them. And, you know, they're just no longer here anymore. Where divorce is, they usually don't like each other. So, you know, it's a very different equation. But, look, I think it'll be something that'll come to its own natural end between the two of you. You'll
Okay.
always remain friends. But I think it'll just be a sort of a mutual decision. Oh, I've got something I've got to say to you. And he says the same thing. And he says, well, ladies first. And he bursts out laughing because you're telling him you think, well, we've gone as far as we can go. We're like, you know, two comfortable doormats together. And he feels the same way. So, you know, there's no race that you don't have to sort anything out tomorrow. Just let it run its course. You know, all
Okay.
the time. And just know that wind down as he will, and neither one really wants to say anything to the other one because you don't want to hurt each other. But it's
Right,
sort of
right.
where there really isn't a lot left anymore. But they set it up so you could both heal. And now you're both healed,
Yeah.
you can move on to new and exciting times ahead. So he will find someone else. And I think you'll end up being good friends between all of you. And that's not a bad. It's always nice to have friends. But anyway, Janice, you're on the right path, so just continue on, my sweet. Thank you very much for calling into the show, and have a great night. Well, we've come
Thank
to
you
the
very
end
much.
of the show almost again for this week, so tune in again next week. We're going to start with our 4-part series of Uranus through the signs. We'll also have our Simply Tarot card of the week and our featured candle of the week. So wherever you are in this amazing globe of ours, make sure that you're kind to each other, open a door, and really do take the time to smile and be kind to each other, and have a great week. And hopefully we'll all have something to celebrate in the next 7 days as we move through this amazing journey of life. Have a great week, and bye for now.